Hello, friends. Imagine losing your husband or your wife after 40 years of marriage. You are sitting at this very kitchen table, completely consumed by grief, trying to figure out how to plan a decent funeral that easily costs $10,000 in today's world. You are counting on your late spouse's final Social Security check to cover the mortgage and keep the lights on for the next few weeks. Then, without warning, that money vanishes. The bank reverses the deposit, your account flashes red, and the government demands every single penny back. In its place, the Social Security Administration offers you a single, insulting check for exactly $255. Millions of grieving widows fall straight into this devastating month of death trap every single year. It sends their personal finances into a total tailspin during the most painful weeks of their lives. The government is not going to send a representative to hold your hand through this nightmare, but if you know the exact federal rules, you can shield yourself from the clawback and unlock a massive survivor switching loophole to secure your financial future. I want to be perfectly clear right from the start. The government isn't illegally stealing your money, and this isn't a scam. This is the official legal Social Security month of death rule, and the $255 payment is the literal statutory lump sum death benefit that has remained completely unchanged for decades. Later on, I am also going to reveal the age 60 remarriage trap. This is a brutal, rigid calendar rule where walking down the church aisle just one single day before a specific birthday can permanently destroy your legal right to collect your deceased spouse's lifetime money. Now, if you are looking at your retirement horizon, you already know that the rules change every single year. The government never goes out of its way to explain your options or protect your wallet. Subscribers to this channel find out about these trapdoors in time to make adjustments. The folks who don't subscribe usually find out after their hard-earned money is already gone for good. Hit that subscribe button right now because your financial survival depends on knowing what the bureaucracy keeps hidden in the fine print. Let us look closely at the first trapdoor, which I call the Unforgiving 31-day rule. This applies directly to the surviving spouse of any Social Security beneficiary who passes away. To understand how this works, you have to realize that Social Security pays its benefits in arrears. That means the check that hits your bank account in the month of September is actually paying you for the previous month of August. Here is where the law gets incredibly cold. Federal policy dictates that a beneficiary must live through the entire calendar month to legally earn that month's payment. If your spouse passes away on August 31st at 11:59 p.m., they did not survive the entire month of August. Therefore, they did not earn the August check, and the money arriving in September belongs entirely to the government. When this happens, you must follow a very specific, ordered sequence of actions to protect yourself. First, while the funeral home usually notifies the Social Security Administration automatically, you cannot leave that to chance. You need to pick up the phone and call 1-872-1213 to confirm the agency has registered the date of death. Second, do not spend the Social Security deposit that hits the joint account in the month following their passing. Third, leave that specific sum untouched right inside the joint bank account. The United States Treasury will automatically execute an electronic clawback, a direct reversal of the deposit, within a few weeks, pulling the funds back out. Fourth, you must temporarily move any of your automatic bill payments, like your electric utility or your monthly mortgage, out of that joint account and into a separate account. If you leave them there, the sudden Treasury clawback will drain the account, causing your critical household bills to bounce. To see how devastating this is in real life, look at John and Mary. They built their entire retirement budget around John's monthly Social Security check of $2,000. John passes away on October 28th. In November, a check for $2,000 is automatically deposited into their joint account. Mary is deep in funeral planning, assumes that money is hers to use, and immediately spends the $2,000 to cover immediate memorial costs. Exactly 2 weeks later, the U.S. Treasury executes its mandatory reversal and sucks $2,000 right out of the account. Because Mary spent it, the account instantly drops into a negative balance of $2,000, triggering a cascade of massive bank overdraft fees. Mary now faces a $2,000 debt to her own bank simply because she did not know John had to survive through 11:59 p.m. on October 31st for that money to stay in her hands. You should also know that if the Social Security Administration accidentally continues to deposit these checks for several months, Because an administrative glitch delayed the system's notification, the situation gets even worse. As the surviving spouse, you are legally liable for repaying every single penny of that multi-month overpayment, no matter how long it takes them to catch the error. This brings us directly to the second hurdle, the frozen 1950s benefit, officially known as the lump sum death payment. This benefit is strictly restricted to a surviving spouse who is living in the exact same household as the deceased at the time of death, or a dependent child who qualifies on their record. The absolute core of this program is an administrative embarrassment. Congress originally created this one-time payment to assist families with burial costs, but they capped it at a maximum of exactly $255. Because lawmakers have completely refused to adjust this figure for inflation since the 1950s, it remains frozen at that identical value today. The steps to claim this money are manual and strict. First, you must completely accept the reality that this federal payment will not cover even a fraction of a modern funeral. Second, you must proactively call the agency at 1-800-772-1213 or physically schedule a visit to your local field office. Third, you must fill out and officially file Form SSA-8, which is the formal application for lump sum death payment. Fourth, you must complete this entire filing process within exactly 2 years of the date of your spouse's death. If you miss that calendar deadline by a single day, the $255 is legally forfeited to the government forever. Consider Susan's situation. Her husband passes away, and she is faced with the reality that the average cost of a modest funeral and traditional burial in 26 is roughly $9,000. Susan submits Form SSA-8, waits for the paperwork to process, and the agency deposits exactly $255 into her account. Susan is left staring at a massive $8,745 financial shortfall because she operated under the common myth that Social Security automatically covers a veteran or a senior citizen's final arrangements. She faces an immediate financial shock during her darkest hour. The reality of this frozen benefit gets even tighter if your family situation shifts. If a senior passes away who is already a widow or a widower, and they leave behind only independent adult children, the $255 is paid to absolutely nobody. The law prevents this money from flowing into the estate to clear the funeral home's outstanding invoice. The government simply keeps the cash, leaving the adult children to hold the entire bill. Thankfully, if your late spouse served our country, a completely separate federal pathway exists that offers genuine financial relief. This brings us to the third pathway, which can provide actual substantial support: the Veterans Plot and Burial Allowance. This specialized program is strictly reserved for the surviving spouses of eligible United States military veterans. The core reality here is that while the standard Social Security benefit leaves you completely stranded, the Department of Veterans Affairs steps in with significant structural aid. The VA offers a direct burial and plot allowance that can range from roughly $948 all the way to over $2,000 if the veteran's passing was directly related to their active service. Furthermore, the VA provides a completely free gravesite, a permanent headstone, and covers the full cost of opening and closing the grave at any VA national cemetery. To secure this veteran benefit, you must execute a very precise action plan. First, you must locate your late spouse's physical DD-214 military discharge papers, as no application can move forward without this proof of service. Second, you need to log on to va.gov or hand the discharge documentation directly to your licensed funeral director to initiate the coordination. Third, you must fill out and formally submit VA Form 21P-530 to officially request the cash burial allowance. Fourth, you should explicitly request the cash burial allowance. Fourth, you should explicitly request interment inside a national cemetery rather than a private facility. This single choice completely eliminates the standard commercial costs of the land and the labor. Look at how this math changed the game for Linda. Her husband was a proud Navy veteran, and when he passed, Linda was looking at paying a $3,000 fee for a private cemetery plot alongside a $1,500 commercial charge for a headstone. Instead of draining her savings, Linda immediately located his DD-214 and leveraged his military status. The VA provided the burial plot and the headstone for exactly $0, completely wiping out $4,500 in potential debt. Linda then filed VA Form 21P-530 and received an additional cash reimbursement of $948 to offset the funeral home's basic preparation fees. When you combine that with her $255 Social Security payment, Linda extracted over $5,700 in actual financial value simply because she knew how to navigate the VA system. Keep in mind that the financial math under this VA program scales up significantly based on location. If the veteran passed away while staying inside an official VA hospital, or if their passing was the direct result of a service-connected disability, the statutory allowance numbers climb much higher, providing thousands more in direct relief. Once you settle these immediate final arrangements, you face a massive long-term financial crossroad regarding your monthly income, which introduces our fourth critical item, the 71.5% early survivor penalty. This rule dictates the monthly income of widows and widowers who are currently between the ages of 60 and 67. The administrative reality is that while you normally have to wait until age 62 to claim a standard retirement check on your own record, federal law allows a grieving widow to claim a survivor benefit as early as age 60. If you are disabled, that age drops to 50. However, claiming the money at the absolute earliest milestone triggers a brutal financial penalty. You will only receive 71.5% of your late spouse's primary insurance amount. To get 100% of the monthly check your spouse was actually receiving, you are required to wait until you reach your own official survivor full retirement age. To navigate this lifelong decision, you must step through the math sequentially. First, you must contact the agency to determine the exact primary insurance amount, the base benefit of your deceased spouse. Second, look up your own exact survivor full retirement age based on the year you were born, which for most seniors watching is somewhere between 66 and 67 years old. Third, if you choose to pull the trigger and claim the money immediately at age 6, because you desperately need the cash flow, you must lock in a permanent 28.5% reduction. Fourth, you must calculate that lifelong monthly deficit against your current expenses to see if you can truly afford to take the discount or if you can find a way to wait. Let us walk out the math with Robert's real-life scenario. His wife passed away, and her steady monthly Social Security check was exactly $2,000. Robert was 60 years old and felt he couldn't make ends meet, so he applied for the survivor benefit immediately. Because he signed those papers at age 60, the agency locked in the early penalty and applied the 71.5% multiplier. 71.5% of $2,000 is exactly $1,430. Robert will now receive $1,430 a month for the rest of his natural life. By moving too fast, he permanently forfeited $570 every single month. That adds up to a loss of $6,840 every year, completely starving his budget of critical funds as inflation climbs. However, there is an incredible structural twist to this rule that depends entirely on your spouse's past choices. If your deceased spouse had intentionally delayed their own retirement claim past their full retirement age to stack up those 8% delayed retirement credits, you as the widow actually inherit that entire scaled-up bonus amount. But remember, to receive 100% of that higher inflated check, you still have to wait until your own survivor full retirement age before you file. Many seniors try to outsmart this early claiming penalty by taking the reduced check at age 60 and continuing to work their normal job to supplement the gap. This drops them straight into our fifth item, the survivor earnings test trap, which ensnares working widows who are under their full retirement age. The real core of this trap is a rigid federal threshold. In 26, the official annual earnings limit is set at exactly $24,480. If you claim your early survivor check and your active job wages cross over that marker, the government will aggressively withhold $1 of your survivor benefit for every $2 you earn above the limit. To protect your income from this automatic withholding, you must plan your employment layout carefully. First, sit down and calculate your projected W-2 wages or your net self-employment profits for the calendar year. Second, if your employment income is on track to hit $40,000 or $50,000, you must not claim your early survivor benefit at age 60. Third, Leave that survivor benefit completely alone so it can grow cleanly in the background while you live entirely off your regular employment salary. Fourth, wait to activate that survivor benefit until the exact day you either scale back your working hours or reach your full retirement age, because the moment you hit that age milestone, the earnings limit vanishes completely. Look at what happened to Mary. At age 61, she decided to claim her monthly survivor check of $1,500. At the same time, she kept her full-time job as an office manager, pulling in a salary of $44,480 a year. Let us do the administrative math on her choices. Mary's salary is $44,480. The federal limit is $24,480. That puts Mary exactly $20,000 over the legal line. Because the penalty is $1 withheld for every $2 over the threshold, you divide $20,000 by 2, which equals a $10,000 penalty. The Social Security Administration processed the numbers and withheld $10,000 worth of her survivor checks during the year. Mary endured the deep emotional stress of filing early, only to watch the bureaucracy claw back almost her entire benefit because she was working hard to stay afloat. Fortunately, this penalty is strictly limited to active physical labor. Private pensions, 401k distributions, traditional IRA withdrawals, and commercial life insurance payouts do not count toward that $24,480 limit. Only active earned income from a W-2 job or self-employment will trigger the withholding clock. If you have your own independent work history alongside your late spouse's record, you can bypass these restrictions entirely by utilizing a major administrative loophole. This brings us to our sixth critical milestone, which is the ultimate payoff for many seniors: the restricted application loophole, also known as the widow's switching strategy. This legal maneuver is strictly reserved for widows and widows who have earned their own independent Social Security record through their own work history, in addition to the record left behind by their deceased spouse. The core reality of this strategy is an incredible double standard in the federal tax code. Congress completely banned the use of restricted applications for regular married couples years ago, but they deliberately left this loophole wide open for grieving spouses. As a widow or widower, you are legally permitted to claim your survivor benefit early at age 60, allowing your own personal retirement record to sit completely untouched and grow by a massive 8% delayed credit every single year. Then, when you reach age 70, you seamlessly switch from that survivor check to your own maxed out retirement check. To execute this strategy without a hitch, you must follow a deliberate step-by-step path with the agency. First, the moment you hit age 60 or stop working your regular job, you must contact the Social Security Administration. Second, when you speak to the representative, you must state these exact words explicitly: "I want to restrict my application to survivor benefits only." Third, you will collect that reduced survivor check every single month from age 60 all the way through age 69, providing a steady stream of income. Fourth, the exact month you turn 70 years old, you must contact the agency a second time and state, "I now want to switch to my own personal retirement record, which has maxed out with delayed retirement credits." Let us look at how this math completely transformed retirement for Linda at age 60. She had earned her own strong Social Security history, giving her a base benefit of $2,000 at full retirement age. Her late husband's record carried a base benefit of $1,800. Linda stepped up at age 60 and claimed the survivor benefit. Because she took it early, the system reduced the check to exactly $1,287 a month. Linda collected that $1,287 every single month for 10 full years, putting a grand total of $154,440 in cold, hard cash flow directly into her pocket. Meanwhile, her own $2,000 record sat in the background, compounding by 8% every year. By the time Linda reached age 70, her personal check had maxed out at roughly $2,480 a month. She initiated the switch, dropped the survivor check, and started collecting $2,480 a month for the rest of her life. Linda legally double-dipped the system, pulling in over $150,000 in early cash while maximizing her lifelong check. You can also run this exact strategy in reverse if the financial numbers match her situation. If your own retirement record is relatively small, but your late spouse's check was massive, You can choose to claim your own small retirement check early at age 62. You let the survivor check grow completely untouched in the background until it reaches 100% value at your survivor full retirement age, and then you switch over to the larger survivor check. Now, let us finally pay off the curiosity tease we established at the beginning of our talk and look at our seventh item, the strict remarriage deadline. Widely known as the age 60 remarriage trap, this rule applies with absolute rigidity to any widow, widower, or divorced widow who is considering getting married again. The core of this law is a black and white calendar deadline. If you choose to legally remarry even one single day before your exact 60th birthday, you permanently forfeit your legal right to collect a survivor benefit based on your deceased spouse's lifetime record. However, if you wait to walk down the aisle until after you turn exactly 60 years old, the federal government legally ignores the new marriage, allowing you to collect your late spouse's money exactly as if you were single. To bypass this devastating financial penalty, you must treat your calendar with absolute precision. First, if you are currently 58 or 59 years old and you get engaged, you must postpone the legal wedding ceremony. Second, you must wait until the calendar rolls over to the day after your official 60th birthday before you sign that legal marriage certificate. Third, the moment you are safely over the age 60 line, you can marry whoever you want without ever risking your survivor rights. Fourth, keep in mind that if you already made the mistake of remarrying early, but that prior marriage subsequently ends due to a divorce or a death, your legal rights to your first spouse's record are fully restored by law. Consider Susan's real-world scenario. Her first husband passed away, leaving behind a massive survivor benefit worth exactly $3,000 a month. Years later, Susan met a wonderful new partner and decided to remarry. They scheduled the wedding, and Susan signed the papers at age 59 and 10 months. Let us look at the devastating dollar math of that scheduling choice. Because Susan walked down the aisle just 2 months prior to her 60th birthday, she permanently forfeited the $3,000 monthly survivor check. That mistake cost her $36,000 every single year. Over a standard 20-year retirement, that single calendar oversight cost Susan exactly $720,000 in lost lifetime income. Had she simply waited 60 more days to sign the legal papers, she would have kept her new marriage and the $720,000. This identical restriction applies directly to divorced spouses as well. If you were legally married to your ex-spouse for at least 10 consecutive years, you are fully entitled to collect their survivor benefit when they pass away, but you must still follow the exact same rule. You cannot remarry prior to age 60 or those funds vanish. Let us summarize what we have covered today, so you can protect your household. We looked at the unforgiving 31-day rule and how the Treasury claws back the final month's check if your spouse dies before the final second of the month. We exposed a frozen lump sum payment that caps your funeral aid at an insulting $255. We uncovered the VA Burial Allowance that provides thousands in real land and headstone value for veterans. We broke down the 71.5% early claiming penalty at age 6, the strict $24,480 working earnings limit, the incredible wealth-building power of the restricted application switching strategy, and the severe financial danger of the age 60 remarriage trap. The government will claw back the final check and offer you pennies for a funeral. But by mastering the widow switching strategy and the strict age 60 remarriage rule, you can extract hundreds of thousands of dollars from the system exactly as the law allows. Subscribe. Share this with someone you know who's on Social Security or Medicare. I'll see you in the next one.